You see that right there? It's Hopalong Cassidy on my Ohio State mini helmet. It's part of my collection. One of these days I'm going to have a man cave and put all that stuff up, along with my platinum and gold plaques from my radio career. But right now they're just in the living room, much to my wife's chagrin. Hi, this is the Brother Buckeye broadcast. I'm your Brother Buckeye, Doug Daniels. Thanks for being with us for another edition of the program. Today, we're going to talk about the top 50 Ohio State Buckeye players, rated based on what we've seen in the past, what they're projected to do this year, how important and or deep the position is, and what their draft status may be. I thought about doing this 50-1, but instead I'm going to go one down because I think the players in the top 25 are more interesting and pressing than the players that are in the second 25. So let's do it that way, okay? Let's start with number 1, Marvin Harrison. Surprise, right? Wide receiver, the best player at Ohio State and in college football, and a surefire top 3 NFL draft choice barring injury. Enough said. At number 2, JT Tuimoloau. I got that right. I said it slow, but I got it right. Defensive end, the best defensive player at Ohio State, one of the top defensive ends in college football. And if he reaches his potential this year, he'll be a potential top 10 pick, certainly first round. At number 3, Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver. The second best receiver with the Buckeyes and the second best receiver in college football, arguably. With another outstanding season, could be a top 15 NFL draft choice, maybe even top 10. It's possible. Possible. Harrison, JT, Emeka. Number 4, Tommy Eichenberg, one of the captains, linebacker. The best Ohio State backer in a while, really. Preseason first team All-American, even with the season we expect. A second-round NFL draft pick would be a tremendous accomplishment. His toughness and quiet leadership is as important as Cade Stover and Xavier Johnson, who are the other 2 captains. So I expect all of these players that I'm talking about to be All-Americans, award winners. Donovan Jackson. Again, we're talking about the importance of the player based on what we've seen, what they're projected to do, the position, and their draft status. So Donovan Jackson, offensive line, the offensive line, big deal. It could be the Achilles heel. You know, Love, Jones, and Jackson, everybody else is new. Jackson was the number 1 interior offensive lineman coming out of high school a few years ago. A spot starter in his freshman year, a starter last year. If he has a great season this year, he will go to the NFL and could be a late round, first round draft choice, certainly second round. No doubt about that. And a really, really important player. Cannot lose him to injury. At number 6, Denzel Burke, cornerback. Great freshman year, injury-plagued sophomore year. Everybody says he looks like the freshman Burke, but with 2 years of weight training and experience. Denzel Burke, corner, is huge. Too many big plays the last 2 years, especially in the big games. Burke, if he's healthy and has a great season, could be a first round draft pick, second round draft pick, third round draft pick. If he goes any lower than that, then he didn't have a great season, and we need him to have a great season. Travion Henderson, number 7, running back. Like Burke, injuries short-circuited his sophomore season. A healthy Henderson is arguably the best back in the nation. Ohio State won't be dependent. They've got to have a great running back room, and Henderson is the leader in that room. He's had a great offseason. They're not going to have a national championship season without a healthy, happy, and effective Travion Henderson. So I've got him as the seventh most important, best Buckeye. I really do. And I think he could be, they don't value running backs in the NFL like they did when I was young or even in my 20s or 30s. Oh, I haven't told you what my age is. I'm not going to tell you now, but I remember when the backs were the most important player outside of the quarterback on the offensive side. So if he has a really good season, I think he'll be a second-round pick with an outside chance of being a late first-round pick. If he has a, just a tremendous season and he proves to be the best running back in the draft. At number 8, I have Michael Hall. I could have put him a little bit higher than this because I think he is, again, with a great season, a potential first-rounder. He is the Buckeyes' best interior lineman. He has been given preseason All-American honors, stopping the run and getting penetration on passing downs to help the defensive ends is what Hall is really good at. He needs to stay healthy. If he does and chooses to declare for the draft like I expect the previous 7 players to do, we could be looking at the 5th, 6th, or even 7th Buckeye taken in round 1. Eichenberg will not be. But the other 7 could, at least 5 or 6. At number 7, it's the freak, Sonny Styles. Safety. This pick is based on potential and expectations. We didn't see a lot of him last year, but what we saw was pretty good. Knowles is raving about him. Is he the modern-day Sean Taylor? Playing defensive end, linebacker, safety, nickel. He's got that kind of talent, size, and speed. The position Knowles is calling Sonny is the strike. I would prefer striker. But I've got him listed as the 9th most important player. He might be the best single talent outside of Marvin Harrison. And we'll have to see. Long term, Sonny Styles has a chance to be the best player on this team. That'll be proven in the NFL one way or the other. But I think he's no worse than number 2. But I've got him at 9 because, again, he's never been a full-time starter before. At number 10, Cade Stover, because he's a captain, because the tight end position is important, blocking, and occasionally catching the ball. I think just his leadership and his toughness is what makes him player 10. Now, do I think he's going to be a first or second round draft choice? No. Third or fourth or fifth? More likely. Let's see. Yeah, if he's taken in the 4th round, he'll be a very, very happy farmer. Josh Simmons at number 11. Not because I think he's the 11th best player, but that the left tackle position is one of the most important positions. Quarterback, left tackle, shut down corner, right? So I've got Josh Simmons, the left tackle, at number 11 because of his potential, because of the position. And if he doesn't play up to, this ranking, then Ohio State's in trouble. That's all there is to it. If we want to be Big Ten champions, if we want to be national champions, Josh Simmons, don't call me Jimmy, has got to be one of the top 10, 12 most important players on this team. Just has to be. And if he is, and then he has another season like that in 24, then you're talking about someone that could be a first or second round draft choice. Number 12, I've got C.J. Hicks. Again, he's kind of in the same category as Sonny Styles. Not because what we've seen, but because of what we know the coaches are saying. And that it's year 2. And he is legit, too legit to quit. I've actually got him ahead of Steel Chambers at linebacker. Not that he's going to play ahead of Steele, because Hicks is going to be playing linebacker. He's going to be playing the jack. Sometimes he's going to be playing stand-up defensive end. So a future first-round draft choice if he stays healthy. They rave about him like they rave about Sonny Styles. I got him at number 12. I think he's going to make a lot of plays this year. Carnell Tate, again, another one. We haven't seen it all, except for maybe a little bit in the spring game. But when Marvin Harrison says Carnell Tate is as good now as I was at the beginning of my sophomore season, and Harrison was the best receiver in all of college football last year, I've got to put this guy at 13. Because if I'm rating the 50 best players, yes, how important the position is, yes, what we've seen, yes, what we're projecting. And I know I'm projecting a lot here, but I think early in the season, he may be the fourth receiver, but I think as the season goes along, I think he's going to supplant Fleming. I really do. So Carnell Tate's at 13. He's a future first-round draft choice. Got to stay healthy. At number 14, Jordan Hancock, the other cornerback, the other starting cornerback. Could be a star. Could be just really good. He came in with high accolades. He played a lot last year. He, along with Burke, were deemed up. A healthy Hancock is as important as any player that we have. Because big plays, too many, can't happen. I've got him at 14. That may be a little bit high, but I've got him at 14. Matt Jones, the right guard, I've got him at 15. He's started for 2 years. This is going to be his third year. If he's healthy, I think he's going to be all Big Ten right guard. And that would, make him a third or fourth round draft choice. If he gets hurt, they're going to have to move Montgomery and Fryer around to kind of fill that gap. Would Montgomery be the right guard and Fryer stay out at left tackle? Would Fryer come inside and Montgomery go to right tackle? Can't have injuries on the offensive line this year. 16th, Latham Ranson. Sometimes he looks fantastic, blocking punts and intercepting balls and tackling wide receivers when they try to do that screen in the open field. Sometimes he slips, falls, and lets the team back into the game and resulting in a lost national championship. So Latham is my 16th most important player, and he needs to have a great season for Ohio State in this safety first or safety centric defense. He needs to play well, very well, along with Sonny Styles, and then whoever's that third safety, and we'll get to that much, much later. At number 17, I'm going to put the quarterbacks, McCord and Brown. I've got them 17 and 18 bracketed. This is the most important position, but I can't, at this moment, put either of them in, before number 17. Because we haven't seen either one do a lot. Now, by mid-season, I may go, oh my gosh, I should have put McCord and or Brown at number 7 or 8 instead of 17 and 18. But until we see what they can do, and until they can show us that they have some of the stuff that Stroud, Fields, Haskins, and Burrow had, I can't put them any higher than number 17, even though the position is the most important position. At number 19, I've got all the backup running backs bracketed. 19, 20, 21, and 22. Williams, Pryor, Trainum, and Hayden. Now, you could move those players around. Frankly, I love Trainum more than the other ones because he's big, strong, and fast. But Williams is going to be the primary backup to Henderson. And if Henderson goes down, Williams is going to be the starter. But after that, I don't know how they're going to roll out Pryor, Trainum, and Hayden. So I've got him 19, 20, 21, and 22 just because. Number 23 is Jack Sawyer. I had him at 13 when I first did the list. I've got him at 23 now because he hasn't done a lot. 5-star player. Maybe playing out of position last year cost him. I think Knowles and most of the coaches kind of admit that. With his hand in the ground, Knowles is very excited about Jack Sawyer. He may end up being one of our top 10 players. But for now, I'm going to say 23. In terms of being a draftable player, if he has a great season and his season is comparable to JTT, then yeah, maybe he's a first rounder, second rounder. Certainly no worse than third rounder. But if he has another season like a Zach Harrison, I see him coming back for a fourth season so he can be the man and improve that draft stock. Number 24, captain number 3, Xavier Johnson. He's Ohio State's jackknife. Jack of all trades. He's a receiver. He's probably receiver 4 behind Harrison, Ibuka, Tate. Then I have Johnson. All right. Leadership, returns kicks, takes handoffs, makes tackles on special teams. No worse than player 24. Whether he has a super future in the NFL or not, don't know. I think a Belichick or a Vrabel would take him because, those teams like a player like an Xavier Johnson. Still Chambers, I've got a 25. Former running back. He's started for the last 2 seasons. He's only going to be a bit better, one would think. He's got to play really well next to Eichenberg. If he does, Ohio State has a chance to win it all. If he's just serviceable, that's not good enough. And you're probably going to see more of Cody Simon and C.J. Hicks at that position. Where he will be drafted eventually, if he's a 4th or 5th or 6th rounder, that's okay. I hope he gets drafted higher than that, because if he gets drafted higher than that, it means he had a great year, and Ohio State had a great year. 26, I've got Josh Fryer, and I'm also putting in Tegra, the left tackle. Okay? I'm going to put those guys together at 26 and 27. Would have had Josh higher had he not been supplanted at the left tackle spot. The coaches must think he's not as good as Simmons. That's all there is to it. That's why I've got him at 26. I got Tegra, the backup to Simmons, at 27. Yeah, I'm just concerned about the offensive line. At 28, Davison Igbinosa, with the highest upside of the 3 corners I've mentioned so far. He's long, he's twitchy, he's fast. He's got that New Jersey attitude. He could be a first rounder in 2025. I think he'll be the man in 2024. At 29 and 30, I've got Carson Hinsman and Vic Cutler, the 2 centers. At 31, 32, and 33, I've got Jahan Carter, who you would think would be the starter at that other safety position, but that's not a given. Josh Proctor, the veteran, flashes. And Malik Hartford has really impressed, as much as any true freshman has, other than Carnell Tate. Knowles loves Hartford. I'm just a little leery of having a true freshman being the guy that's supposed to, be that safety that nobody gets behind. And if he's a hitter like they say he is he going to be wanting to hit people instead of making sure nothing gets behind him? Jahan Carter, 31. Proctor, 32. Hartford, 33. We need good play from those guys. All right, at 34, Ty Hamilton, probably should have had him higher. He's going to be the starter, I think, next to Hall. But I basically have Hamilton, Williams, and Malone bracketed because I think there's going to be some games where they're going to want Williams in there. I think there's going to be times they're going to want Williams in there because he's a bigger, wider hole plugger. Plus, he's got that explosive first step. And Malone has been turning heads. So I've got Hamilton, Williams, and Malone bracketed together at 34, 35, and 36. At 37, Jesse Mirko, punter. I think he's got an NFL future. At 38, I've got Parker Lewis, the USC transfer, who the onlookers, the press corps says he is going. I heard I think Jeremy Birmingham said that he believes that Parker Lewis is going to reset the record book for the longest field goal. Skladany has that at either 57 or 59 yards. Apparently this kid's got a leg. So I've got him at 37 because how important that position is. We know how important it is because a missed field goal costs us, along with some other things, the national championship. Cody Simon, I've got him at 39. I would have him higher if he hadn't had this injury history. He hasn't been able to make it through a season without injuries. If I knew he was going to be injury-free, I'd probably put him right next to Still Chambers, maybe even ahead of Still Chambers. I can only put him at 38 because he is only flashed and he's never been healthy for a full year. If he has a breakout year like a Jonathan Cooper, who knows? Maybe he's a top 3 or 4 round draft choice. If he gets injured again, I think at best we're talking about a free agent. Player 40, Kenyatta Jackson. From a pure talent standpoint, I think this guy is a top 20 Buckeye. But he hasn't played much yet. But he is the number 3 defensive end behind JTT and Sawyer. And if he supplants Sawyer at one of those ends, uh-oh. Not good for Sawyer, but great for Jackson. I think he's a future first rounder. He's got that much juice. At number 41, Mitchell Melton. They love this kid. They were really depending on him last year. Then he got injured in the spring game. He's been looking great at D-end and Jack. So I've got him at 41. But like Cody Simon, he's been injured a lot. Otherwise, I'd have him higher. Caden Curry, yet another defensive end. I've got him at 42. They've been raving about Caden Curry. He's defensive end. The defensive ends are JTT, Sawyer, Jackson, Melton, Curry, and then CJ Hicks when he's, playing that jack. They love the defensive end position. It's long, it's fast, it's quick, explosive. Caden Curry at 42. His big year is going to be next year, 24, and maybe 25. Julian Fleming, I have all the way down at 42 because I don't think he's going to stay at 3. Not because I'm not rooting for him to stay at the number 3 wide receiver position. It just he tends to get nicked up a lot. And Carnell Tate. So I've got him at 42. Nothing would make me happier if he had a breakout senior season and ended up taken in the first 4 rounds. Would love it to happen. At 43, I've got, actually, Julian Fleming was 43. Caden Curry was 42. Fleming's 43. Luke Montgomery's 44. I probably should have him higher, the way they've been raving about him. If he ends up starting, though, I don't think that's good. That means that your veteran Fryer is not getting it done. And if Fryer is holding down the left tackle, but Montgomery starting, that means that Matt Jones has been injured. So I've got Montgomery at 44. I think he's a future first or second round tackle or guard. But for now, I've got him at the 44th position because we haven't seen him play at all. At 45, I have Joe Royer backing up Cade Stover. He's bigger, stronger. He's healthier. He'll be in there on the 2 tight end sets. Everybody loves him. I don't know what his NFL future is, but I've got him as at 45. At 46, Cam Martinez. That gives you an idea how deep this team is. when a spot starter last year is no better than the 46th player. That's not even technically too deep, because your too deep is 44 players. At 46, Cam Martinez is right on the cusp of the too deep at safety. He was a dynamic touchdown guy in high school as a quarterback. Why he's not returning kickoffs or punts makes no sense, because he's got great change of direction. He must have problems with his hands. That's all I can figure out. At number 47, one of my favorite players, Enoch Vimahi. Did I say that right? Vimahi? No, it's not. It's Enoch Vimahi. He's the right guard. He's been a spot starter. Everybody loves him. He could have transferred closer to home. He could have gone on his LDS mission. He's decided to stay and play. And I believe he will. He's probably the first option at right guard if Matt Jones goes down. But I really think they may put Montgomery in there and leave Fryer at right tackle. But we'll see. Jalen Ballard is player 48. Here's a guy that's got all the talent in the world. But he's the 6th wide receiver. He's number 6. I think he'll play. I think he'll score some touchdowns. And then I think in the spring, will he stick around with Fleming, Johnson, Harrison, and Igbuka moving on? I think he could stay around. I think he could, because he would definitely move up. I think he's, he may not be Jameson Williams, but he's not that far off. But he's going to be a late bloomer, it looks. At number 49, Jair Brown, he's the 4th corner. He's going to play, but if he's in a situation where he's starting, that's not good news, because that means that we've lost 2 of Burke, Hancock, and Igbinosa. That would not be good if Jair Brown is starting. And then my 50th player is G. Scott at tight end. The 3rd option at tight end, getting lots of love from teammates and coaches. He's stronger, more mature. His headbutt in the Michigan game changed the momentum there. There's no way to get around that. He was one of the top-rated wide receivers in the country, actually rated ahead of Jackson Smith-Njigba. He's been at tight end now for 3 years. And the fact that he stuck around says a lot about him. And then honorable mention, Brannis Ennis at player 51. Brannis Ennis is a future first-round pick in probably the 26th draft. Think about that. He's a future first-rounder, and he's only 51 in importance, unless there's a string of injuries at wide receiver. He's the 7th option at wide receiver. That is insane. But that is the top 51 players on the Ohio State roster. I think it's the deepest, most talented roster in the country. My only question mark is offensive line. That's the only one. I think that offensive line is going to be good enough to win most of the games against Penn State, Michigan, and whoever they may or may not play in the playoffs. That, of course, by then, they're either going to be really good or really bad. Time will tell. The 2023 Ohio State Buckeyes take on Indiana a week from Saturday. And by the time you're watching this, it probably is Saturday. It's an afternoon game. I'll be watching. I know you will too. This is the Brother Buckeye broadcast. I'm your Brother Buckeye, Doug Daniels. Like, subscribe, comment below. Tell me who your top 10 Buckeyes, most important Buckeyes are. If I had somebody in the second 25 that you think should be in the top 25, let me know that. And I know I bracketed some of these positions, mostly because, especially the running back, because I don't know if of those 4 secondary running backs, any of them could be number 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. They're that talented, but they're that far behind Travion Henderson, in my opinion. We'd like to hear yours. Have a great day. Catch me on Bucknuts. I am Radio 1979 on Bucknuts. I am Northern Nevada Buck on 11 Warriors, and I am your brother Buckeye Doug right here. I'm going to look straight in the camera. Oh, did you notice that I did make a change? I've got my backdrop here. Somebody gave this to me as a present. So I've got that back there, my Buckeye blanket. And I also got a new piece for my camera. So I'm hoping the camera is a little sharper. The main problem is the computer. But this should be a little sharper. And I am going to get a computer someday so you can really see what this mug looks like. And oh boy, we're all in trouble then.